Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Wednesday, October 16th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's Game 4 of the NLCS and Game 3 of the ALCS, and I'll talk about the NHL, go through that slate from yesterday, look ahead to tonight. NBA preseason, go over some of those results and player statistics, and look ahead to tonight a little bit. Bowl projections, college football, week number 8. NFL Power Rankings, week number 7, and my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start with baseball, and we're actually going to start with the game that actually was the second game because it was more significant. You know why? Because the Washington Nationals are heading to the World Series for the first time in franchise history. 7-4 winners over the Cardinals. They sweep the Cardinals. They're in the World Series. Good for them. Patrick Corbin gets the win, although he struggled there later in the game. Granted, they had the big league, so it didn't really matter. Dakota Hudson the loss and Daniel Hudson the save. This game was over early. Bottom of the first, sacrificed by Anthony Rondon. 1-0 Nats. RBI double Juan Soto, 2-0 Nats. RBI single Victor Robles, 3-0 Nats. 2-run single Yan Gomes, 5-0 Nats. 2-run single Trey Turner, 7-0 Nats. Top of the fourth, home run Yadier Molina gets the Cardinals on the board. Top of the fifth, RBI groundout Tommy Edman as Harrison Bader scores at 7-2. 2-run double Jose Martinez pinch hitter. 2-run score, 7-4, and that was it for the scoring. Patrick Corbin, 5 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, 12 strikeouts. Tanner Rainey, an inning and a strikeout. Sean Doolittle, an inning and 2/3, a hit and a strikeout, and Daniel Hudson, an inning and a third and a walk. So the Nationals move on. Meanwhile, the Cardinals in this game, Dakota Hudson only recorded 1 out. 1 out. So a third of an inning, 5 hits, 4 runs, no walks, and no strikeouts. So some of these runs must have been scored on errors. Yeah, there was a couple scored on due to errors. And then Adam Wainwright out of the bullpen, an inning and 2/3, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. Ryan Helsley, 2 innings, a walk, and a strikeout. Giovanni Gallegos, 2 innings, a hit, 3 strikeouts. Andrew Miller, 2 hits, a hit, 3 strikeouts. So the Nationals, it's just a great story for them. The Ewing theory with Bryce Harper is real. It might become the Harper theory, although I think it should be called the Wentz theory because the Eagles won the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz, and it was weird how they did it, and nobody expected them to. But the different case is that this is like a superstar leaves, and the team's better when you remove the superstar. Obviously, Bryce Harper's the superstar, and there was expectations for the Nationals this year. They were the favorites before the season to win the division, although I had picked Atlanta. And I did not have the Nats in the postseason because I thought they'd miss Harper more than they expect. And I wasn't sure that Patrick Corbin was going to be worth that contract. And he has been worth the contract, although he's had a couple bad statistical playoff games here and single-handedly cost the Nationals Game 3 against the Dodgers. But he was a great pickup. Anibal Sanchez nearly no-hit the Cardinals. Esteban Cabrera, good pickup. Yan Gomes, good pickup behind the plate. Daniel Hudson is now their closer pretty much. He's been sensational. He came in at the trade deadline. So a couple trade deadline ads and a couple free agent ads from the offseason really contributed to this. Cabrera, by the way, was a trade acquisition. He came over from Texas at the deadline. I think that they got him actually on waivers, not really a trade. But they picked him up. He's been very good. So congratulations to the Nationals. And they're going to wait on the American League winner, whether that's Houston or New York. And meanwhile, for the Cardinals, they're obviously their first playoff appearance year since 2015 when they won the division, won 100 games. And that division was really, really good that year. It had them, the Cubs, and the Pirates. And then they ended up holding off the Cubs and the Pirates at the end of the season. Although everyone say they ran away with that division early on. They did. And then they kind of faded off a little bit, made that division look closer than it really was. And then the Cubs ultimately had the better season that year as they went to the NLCS only to get swept by the Mets. But their first time in the playoffs since 2015. A lot of people picked them to make the playoffs this year, including myself. I think I had them losing in the wild card game in my preseason predictions because I had them and the Brewers, and I had the Brewers over the Cards in the wild card game, and I think I said that the Brewers would have gotten a trade deadline ace acquisition like Madison Bumgarner. That would be the difference, but I was wrong. Cardinals won the division. The Cubs were a mess. The Brewers lost Yelich at the end of the season. They ended up making the playoffs anyway. Nearly stole the division from the Cardinals, by the way. And then, meanwhile, what's next for St. Louis? I believe they'll still be a good team in the National League. Will they win their division? I'm not sure. I think they have some interesting decisions to make in the offseason. Marcell Ozuna is going to be a free agent, so that could be a potential big loss for them. Paul Goldschmidt they extended, so he's still around. Yadier Molina still looks like he's in his prime and playing well, so he'll likely still be around. What's the future for Matt Carpenter? Because he really kind of just turned into a DH all of a sudden. Do they trade him? Do they trade him for pitching help? Michael Wacha really hadn't panned out. He was not even on their playoff roster. Wainwright kind of turned back the clock in the second half of the year. Was that sustainable? So I have some questions for the St. Louis Cardinals going into 2020 in the offseason. So I'm not sure if they missed their window or if they'll go out and be big spenders in the offseason and try to surprise us and sign like Anthony Rendon or Steven Strasburg or somebody like that. I mean, I feel like they're going to be in play for those guys because they feel like a team that I think that division's open, and I think St. Louis is a team that I think wants to spend money, and they're a big market and they're a popular team. So I would not rule out the possibility of the Cardinals being big spenders and inserting themselves as division favorites for the second consecutive year going into 2020. This ultimately depends on what the Cubs do with Chris Bryant and Javier Baez. And some of those guys are going to be free agents as well, like Cole Hamels. What do the Brewers do? Do they reload? Christian Yelich will be back next year, obviously. So that's another team that it's going to be interesting come the offseason. Will the Pirates and the Reds improve? I'd say the Reds, yes. But Pittsburgh, I think, is headed for a rebuild. Maybe Josh Bell's on the trade market. So I think the Cardinals did not miss their window. I think they have some opportunities in front of them because that division is just wide open. And I think, I know we'll save this conversation for another day, but I feel good about the NL East going for the most of any of the National League divisions than the Central and the West, because I think the Dodgers have the West locked down the next couple years. The Central, to me, is the one with the most uncertainty. Meanwhile, the East as a whole, in my opinion, is going to be on the rise, obviously, with Philly and the Mets getting new managers and should be upgrades over Gabe Kapler and Mickey Callaway, respectively. And the Marlins, quietly, are a team that is going to get better. Their farm system is all of a sudden really good, and I think that's a team that could potentially surprise some next season. Not suggesting they're going to be 500 or better, but I could see like a 70-ish win type of season for Miami next year if they make some improved moves via trade or free agency. To the other game that took place yesterday, the Astros defeated the Yankees by a score of 4-1 as the Astros take a 2-1 series lead. Big win for them with their ace on the mound, Garrett Cole. Luis Severino takes the loss, although I thought he pitched pretty well considering that he got off to a slow start in that game and then got some big outs and kept the Yankees in it. But the problem was that the Yankees just had an inability to get a big hit off of Garrett Cole. They had opportunities, they just couldn't get it done. Top of the first, leadoff, or not a leadoff home run, but a home run, second batter of the game, Jose Altuve, 1-0 Astros. Top of the second, home run, Josh Reddick to the second deck, 2-0 Astros. Top of the seventh, Jose Altuve scores on a wild pitch by Zach Britton, 3-0. Sacrifice by Yuli Gurriel, 4-0. Both of those runs were charged to Adam Ottavino, who Aaron Boone put in the game. who's been struggling and obviously came back to bite him there. Bottom of the 8th, home run, Gleyber Torres, Yankees on the board to make it a 4-1 game. That was your final. Garrett Cole, 7 innings, 4 no runs, 5 walks, 7 strikeouts. Joe Smith, a third of an inning, a hit and a run. He gave up the Torres homer. Will Harris, 2/3 of an inning, scoreless, 3 pitches. And then Roberto Osuna, an inning and no strikeouts, no hits. Yankees, Severino, 4 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts. Chad Green, 2/3 of an inning and a strikeout. Tommy Kahnle, a clean inning. Adam Ottavino didn't record it out. Gave up a hit, 2 earned runs and a walk. Zach Britton, a clean inning and a walk, but ultimately it was the Ottavino runs that Zach Britton sort of gave up. And Luis Cessa, 2 scoreless innings, 3 strikeouts and a hit. So Yankees pitching did its job for the most part outside of Ottavino, and Severino settled down after the slow start. But again, the offense just couldn't get a big hit. And game number 4 was supposed to be played tonight. It's postponed to Thursday, so I'll pick game 4 on tomorrow's podcast. NHL. We'll go over the scores and whatnot from yesterday. Look ahead to today's busy slate. Maple Leafs over the Wild 4-2. A good win for Toronto. 4-2-1 in the year. Minnesota 1-5-0. Number 1 started game with 4 assists. Morgan Riley. Number 2 started game with a goal and 2 assists. Mitch Marner. Number 3 started game with 27 saves on 29 shots. Frederik Andersen. Lightning over the Canadiens 3-1. A good win for Tampa Bay. They are 3-2-1. Montreal's 2-2-2. Number 1 started the game with a goal and assist. Steven Stamkos. Number 2 started the goal with a goal. Jeff Petrie. Number 3 started the game with 33 saves on 34 shots. Andrei Vasilevsky. Coyotes over the Jets 4-2. Arizona with a nice win. They are 2-2-1. Winnipeg is 4-4. Number 1 started the game with 2 goals. Christian Dvorak. Number 2 started the game with 2 assists. Olivier Ekman-Larsson. Number 3 started the game with a goal and assist. Mark Sheffley. Flames over the Flyers 3-2. A nice win for Calgary, who are now 3-3-1 on the year. Phillies 2-1-1. Number 1 started the game with a goal, Michael Furlik. Number 2 started the game with 35 saves on 37 shots? Yes, 37 shots, Brian Elliott. Number 3 started the game, 21 saves on 20 shots, David Rittich. Canucks defeat the Red Wings 5-1. A nice win for Vancouver. They are 3-2-0. Detroit 3-3. So after a nice start, it's coming back to reality a little bit. Number started the game with 2 goals, JT Miller. Number 2 started the game with 3 assists, Brock Besser. Number 3 started the game with a goal and 2 assists, Alex Etler. Predators over the Golden Knights 5-2. A very good win for Nashville on the road, defeating Vegas. They are 4-2. Vegas is 4-3. Number started the game with a goal and assist, Kyle Turris. Number 2 started the game with a goal, Colton Sissons. Number 3 started the game with assists, Cody Glass. Hurricanes over the Kings 2-0. Carolina goes to 6-1. LA is 2-4. Number 1 started the game with 31 saves on 31 shots, Peter Mrazek. Number 2 started the game with 21 saves on 23 shots, Jack Campbell. Number 3 started the game with a goal, Martin Nesas. Tonight's slate at 7 o'clock, NBCSN, Avalanche at the Penguins. Doc Emrick, Eddie Olczyk, Brian Boucher on the call. Should be a fun game in Pittsburgh. Avalanche undefeated. Pittsburgh is 4-2. I think that this could be the game where Colorado gets picked off. I think it is. I just have a gut feeling they're due to lose. Avalanche obviously were my Stanley Cup pick before the season. They're just eventually have to lose, and the Penguins are a team that I think is going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and this would be a nice win for them to have on their resume, although resume really doesn't matter in hockey as much as it does in like the college sports, but it'd be a nice win to have against a good team from the West. So give me the Penguins at home to hand the Avalanche their first loss. And Pittsburgh, by the way, is a short favorite in that game too. And I didn't know that until just now. Maple Leafs Capitals, that's a nice game between 2 contenders from the East. The Stars at the Blue Jackets. One rebuilding team, one team that is off to a slow start this year in Dallas. Flyers Oilers at 9:30 on NBCSN. Oilers finally got dealt their first loss of the season against the Blackhawks on Monday night. And then the Flyers have 5 points. They had the good win against the Devils on Wednesday Night Hockey last week. Now they're back on Wednesday Night Hockey this week in the doubleheader. I think they go down tonight against Connor McDavid and the Oilers, who are off to a good start and look like that they could be a team that steals one of those playoff spots from the Western Conference. So maybe the Oilers in what should be a statement game for them at home against a good Flyers team. And then the Sabres at the Ducks at 10 o'clock and 10:30 the Hurricanes at the Sharks. NBA preseason, a couple games last night, only 3. Timberwolves over the Pacers, 119-111. As Karl Anthony Towns went crazy, he had 33 points. Robert Covington had 10. Andrew Wiggins had 11, shot poorly. John Lehman had 10. Off the bench, Jarrett Culver had 15. So he's having a nice preseason for them. Domantas Sabonis had 11 for Indiana. Off the bench, Doug McDermott, 14. Goga Batadze, 14 off the bench. T.J. McConnell, 10 off the bench. And with 11 off the bench, Edmund Sumner, the former Xavier product. 76ers over the Pistons, 106-86. Philly, obviously, 4-0 in the preseason, but I always say results don't matter in the preseason. Joel Embiid, 24 points, 8 boards. Tobias Harris had 10. Josh Richardson had 11 with 5 boards and 6 assists off the bench. Who is this? They had a nice game off the bench. Oh, Norvell PA had 13. Pelly. And then Frank Kormaz had 10 for Philly, and then Ben Simmons didn't play. Meanwhile, for Detroit, Christian Wood led them in scoring at 19. No Blake Griffin or Andre Drummond in this game. Tony Snell had 17 and Luke Kennard had 11. Celtics over the Cavs, 118-95. Celtics continued to play well in the preseason. Carson Edwards had 30 to lead the Celtics in scoring. Wanamaker had 11. Off the bench, Trevon Waters had 24, and with 16 off the bench for Boston was Javonte Green. So maybe the Celtics have some more depth than we think. And meanwhile, for the Cavaliers, Colin Sexton had 20. Darius Garland off the bench had 16. Jordan Clarkson off the bench had 15. Kevin Love had 8. C.D. Osman had 10. More games tonight in the NBA preseason. 7 o'clock Pistons at the Hornets. 8 o'clock ESPN. The Hawks at the Knicks. On the call this game, I'm going to say it's probably Doris Burke. I know for sure is your analyst. Play-by-play, I'm going to say it's Ryan Rucco. That would be my guess right now if I had to asked to make a guess who would do play-by-play for this game. And then Mike Breen on MSG. So I'm going to say Ryan Rucco and Doris Burke on the call. Winner rule out Breen on ESPN and Kenny Albert doing the game on MSG, which I think is very likely. But I have a feeling it's going to be Ryan Rucco on MSG because Ryan Rucco has not done an NBA preseason game yet. So I'm going to say this is it for him. So Hawks Knicks. What's interesting here on TV of Trae Young and DeAndre Hunter and John Collins against R.J. Barrett. Dennis Smith Jr. should be back for the Knicks in this game. You also have Dennis Smith Jr. Kevin Knox, who's shown some flashes in the preseason. Some of their veterans have actually been solid too. Marcus Morris, who I think will be trade bait. Julius Randle's had some moments as well. Spurs Rockets at 8 o'clock, as well as Grizzlies Thunder. 9 o'clock Trailblazers at the Jazz. 10 o'clock Melbourne United at the Kings. And 10:30 ESPN Warriors Lakers. Call this game will be Dave Pasch and Mark Jackson in all likelihood because those are your West Coast guys. If this was a regular season game, it'd be Breen, Van Gundy, and Jackson probably, but this is the preseason, so I'm going to say it's Dave Pasch and Mark Jackson, and then Breen will be at MSG. Although I would not rule out Breen for Warriors, Lakers, and then Ryan Rucco does Knicks on ESPN, and then Kenny Albert on MSG. So that's not out of the realm of possibility either. Bowl projections, Week 8, college football. A lot of major changes after some big upsets and whatnot. So let's start the college football playoff. Fiesta Bowl have 2-seeded Clemson against 3-seeded Ohio State. Peach Bowl 1-seeded Alabama against 4-seeded Oklahoma. Rest of the New Year's Six Bowl. Cotton Bowl, Boise State and Georgia. Orange Bowl, Virginia and Penn State. Rose Bowl, Utah and Wisconsin. Sugar Bowl, LSU and Texas. Other bowl games, Bahamas Bowl, Western Kentucky at Central Michigan. So that's a new entry there. Frisco Bowl, UCF Army. New Mexico Bowl, North Texas and Hawaii. Cure Bowl, Memphis and Louisiana. Boca Raton Bowl, Tulane and Ohio. Camellia Bowl, Western Michigan and Louisiana Monroe. The Vegas Bowl, Air Force and Arizona State. New Orleans Bowl, North Texas and Appalachian State. Gasparilla Bowl, Temple and Louisiana Tech. Hawaii Bowl, Houston and Wyoming. Independence Bowl, Southern Miss and Wake Forest. The Quick Lane Bowl, Syracuse and Iowa. Military Bowl, Navy Duke. Pinstripe Bowl, Pitt and Nebraska. Texas Bowl, Oklahoma State and Kentucky. Holiday Bowl, Minnesota and Oregon. The Cheez-It Bowl, you have Arizona State, or that's wrong. The Cheez-It Bowl should not be Arizona State. That's a type there. It should be Stanford and who's that I just said? It'll go with Arizona State. Texas Tech. Stanford, Texas Tech should be Cheez-It. Camping World, Florida State and Iowa State. First Responder, Marshall and Kansas State. Music City Bowl, North Carolina State and Notre Dame. Red Box Bowl, Miami and... Okay, that's wrong too. I have Stanford in there. So the Red Box Bowl, actually I was right. So that should be Stanford. And obviously the one I missed on was the Cheez-It Bowl, which should be... The Cheez-It Bowl should be Cal. So that was my mistake there. So again, Cheez-It Bowl should be Cal and Texas Tech, and Red Box Bowl was right initially, Stanford, Miami. Belk Bowl, Virginia Tech and Mississippi State. Sun Bowl, Louisville and USC. Liberty Bowl, Cincinnati, Washington State. Arizona Bowl, San Diego State, Troy. Alamo Bowl, Baylor, Washington. Citrus Bowl, Michigan, Florida. Outback Bowl, Michigan State, Auburn. Birmingham Bowl, interesting one here, Liberty, SMU. Gator Bowl, Purdue and Texas A&M. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Toledo and Utah State. Armed Forces Bowl, Colorado, Fresno State. And Mobile, Alabama Bowl, Ball State and Arkansas State. Power Rankings, week number 7 for the NFL. Going to try to be very quick here with the power rankings. Obviously some changes with some upsets and whatnot. Number 32 is the Dolphins. What are you going to do? They're terrible. 31's the Bengals. They're 0-6. 30's the Redskins. They beat the Dolphins. You're still bad. 29's the Jets. They finally get their first win against the Cowboys. They probably should be higher than when I have them. But this is not on what have you done last week. This is what have you done the whole season. Granted, it's not all Sam Darnold's fault. Sam Darnold looked very good in this game. And obviously they caught the Cowboys in a trap spot. If they do well against the Patriots, maybe I'll move them up a little bit. But still, you're 1-4. 28's the Arizona Cardinals. They have a nice little winning streak going. And their opponent next week is number 27, the New York Football Giants. So, 2 bad teams facing off. One of them's going to have 3 wins. And still kind of in the NFC playoff picture mix in a weird way. Especially the Giants, because all of a sudden that division looks bad. With the the Cowboys and Eagles underachieving so far this season. The Falcons are 26. They, I think, are on the verge of firing their coach. Number 25 is the Tennessee Titans, who benched Marcus Mariota for Ryan Tannehill. 24 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When did they bench their quarterback is the question, because he's held them back. 23 is the Denver Broncos. This is an improved team from a few weeks ago. They I think, have a good chance to make it even more interesting tomorrow night against the Chiefs. 22 is the Jaguars. They just traded away Jalen Ramsey, so they get punished for that. 21 are the Los Angeles Chargers. They're just overrated, let's be honest here. They have to win this week against the Titans, or else they will probably might end up tanking. And who knows, maybe they move on from Phil Rivers. 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. This team plays hard, regardless of who's the quarterback. This team should probably be 3-3 or even 4-2, but they're not. A couple bad calls away from, or non-bad calls away from being over 500 in my mind. Number 19 is the Oakland Raiders, one of the bigger surprises so far in the league. John Gruden, to me, has to be the favorite for Coach of the Year. Tough one on Sunday going to Lambeau, though. Number 18 is the Cleveland Browns. I think the biggest underachiever in the league by far. They're 2-4. Maybe Freddie Kitchens is less than one and done. Maybe not even a full year and done. Who knows? 17 is the Detroit Lions. This team got robbed on Monday night. We explained a lot about that on yesterday's podcast. They have the Vikings up next week. 16, the Cowboys, 3-3. Biggest game of their season against the number 15 team on this list, the Philadelphia Eagles. Do I think the winner of this game on Sunday night is the winner of the NFC East? No, not necessarily, but it certainly gives whatever team wins a leg up on the other. And that game's obviously going to be competing with Yankees-Astros Game 7 if it does go 7, which I think it does. Number 14, the Indianapolis Colts, a team that has been much better than I expected with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. I guess that Raiders game was just a fluke because I was really disappointed in the Colts with that effort. But they've been better since then. They upset the Chiefs, and then they get the Texans at home in a big division game. 13th, Minnesota Vikings. This team has been a lot better. Kirk Cousins has shut some critters up with winning a game against a good team on Sunday. And now does he follow it up with a win against the Lions? We'll see. 12, the Chicago Bears. Coming off a bye, Mitch Trubisky back. I think he's better than Chase Daniel. And I think too many people are judging Trubisky on that bad game to open the season against the Packers, and people are basing his reputation solely off of that game, which I think is a mistake. And I'm not suggesting Trubisky's special or anything, but I just think that he's getting too much criticism. Because that defense for the Bears did not do the job against the Raiders, because the Bears came back and took the lead in the London game, and they gave up the lead. And nobody talks about that. So, disappointing effort from that defense in London as well. 11's the Ravens. I think this is a fraudulent team. Number 10 is the Buffalo Bills. Another team I think is sort of fraudulent. But they obviously have an easy game on Sunday against the Dolphins. 9's the Panthers. This team has been very impressive to me. With Kyle Allen at quarterback now, the question is, what's next with Cam Newton? Do they get rid of him? Do they trade Kyle Allen to see if they can get something for him? I mean, this guy really has emerged as the out-of-nowhere quarterback that's not a rookie. I'm not saying he's this year's Mahomes or anything like that, but he really has emerged as the random quarterback to have a somewhat of a breakout season this year. And I wonder if they'll entertain trade offers for him, because his value couldn't be any higher than it is right now. And if Cam Newton's 100%, then they have a bit of a conundrum on their hands. Number 8's the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a team that I think should pull a Rams and make a panic trade, especially if they drop a game here on Thursday night against the Broncos. And the Rams are number 7. The reason why they're still this high is because they made the trade for Jalen Ramsey to make their team better. Their defense has been just as underachieving as Jared Goff and their offense, as much blame as Goff has gotten. I think that the defense deserves some blame too. This immediately makes their secondary better. Him and Aqib Talib is a super good tandem. 6 is the Houston Texans. This team is very good. Big game Sunday against the Colts. 5, the 49ers. Their defense, to me, has been the unit in the whole league that's probably overachieved the most this year. And that's credit to their defensive coordinator. Kyle Shanahan has done a great job this year. Jimmy Garoppolo being back obviously has done them wonders as well. 4, the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson's the MVP right now, and quite frankly, it's not that close. With Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs losing those 2 games, that hurts his stock. Lamar Jackson slowing down after that hot start slows his stock down. It's between him and Deshaun Watson right now. And right now I give it to Wilson because he's done more with less, per se. Although Watson doesn't have that much around him either. Like, they lost Lamar Miller due to a torn ACL. And although he has 2 great wide receivers in Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins, but they have an improved line with Laramie Tunsil. Meanwhile, the Seattle offensive line is missing a couple starters. And obviously, Jermaine Ifedi, that former first-round pick, has just been a bust in the NFL so far. And it's amazing what Wilson has done. So Wilson's my MVP over Watson. And number 3 is the Green Bay Packers. Got a lucky win on Monday night courtesy of the refs. But this team is still very good. Their defense is much improved. Their offense has been better, although it would certainly help if they had Devontae Adams back in that lineup. 2 is the New Orleans Saints. This team continues to silence myself as a Teddy Bridgewater doubter. But the thing why they are where they are is because of their defense. And their defense is much improved from last year. Marshawn Lattimore's taken this game to a different level. That pass rush has been much better than I anticipated. And that's the reason why they're 5-1. And Teddy Bridgewater did have 1 good game against the Bucs. Other than that, he's been kind of mediocre. And number 1 is New England Patriots until they lose a game or if something random that makes me bump them down happens. Best bet of the day brought to you by DraftKings. I won yesterday's best bet with the Astros, the Nats, and those few hockey games. So I have some cash to dingle with, but I'm not going to use all of it for best bet. So without further ado, here we go. If the baseball game was being played today, I know what side I would have taken, but obviously that's not available to me anymore. So without further ado, here we go. We'll start in the hockey, actually. We will take the Pittsburgh Penguins. No, we won't take the Penguins. I really like I don't like any of the hockey games. Take that back. We'll go to college football. There's a game on tonight. I forgot to pick this before. I'm going to take Troy minus the 17.5 as my my podcast pick play in terms of the totals. And then obviously Troy straight up. So I'll take Troy on the money line. You know what? Screw it. I'll go to hockey. I will actually take the Penguins. And I'll take Dallas in a pick 'em against Columbus. I'll go with Edmonton. I'm avoiding Anaheim Buffalo. That's a really good game. And I'm avoiding Carolina San Jose. So plus $5.99. I'm only going to wager 16 cents because that's just how my account's set up right now. So, wagering $1.12 here for best bet. And I hope you guys have a great day, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow, obviously, recapping everything from NBA preseason, hockey. We had to pick Yankees-Astros Game 4. More college football tomorrow, Thursday football, and my best bet as well.